So today we invited 3 assessors from 3 different counties at the Bay Area, but the rules of the property tax reassessment will be similar to other counties in California. So this is just for your reference. The panelist sitting here is first Jen Santos from Santa Clara County. Hi, Jen. Can you open your microphone first? Hi, Jen. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi,
yes,
sorry about that.
Okay, yeah. Jen Santos is supervising appraiser with the County of Santa Clara, being with the office for 12 years as an appraiser, currently handle assessments in San Jose, Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills. So welcome, Jen. And
Okay.
our next assessor is Fong La from Alameda County. Fong, can you open your microphone and your screen? Oh, I see you. Okay. Hi, Fong. Fong was elected the county assessor on November 6, 2018. His effective work makes Alameda County Assessor Office more efficient. Welcome, Fong La. And,
thank you for letting me.
Okay, and the last speaker panelist is Leon Long, Chief Appraiser from San Mateo County. Leon are very experienced on residential, apartments, commercial, industrial properties in San Mateo County. So welcome all of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So the confirmative answers from you, I'm sure, is yes, our reassessment base will be changed after making an ADU. So my following questions will raise to all 3 of you. Maybe you can, we can start from lady first and then Fong and Leon, okay? So what are the common use methods to make a reassessment? Are there any differences between different counties, Jen?
Typically, we shouldn't have any differences in how these properties are getting.
Oh, can't hear you. Can't hear you. Jen, we can't hear you. Jen, I'm sorry, Jen, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Assess it as we would if, say, an ADU was being built with a brand new house.
Okay, we miss you, Jen. Miss you most of your comments. Okay, so how about Fong? Would you answer your reply? What are the common use methods to make a reassessment?
So first of all, I want to make clear what the terminology is. We don't reassess a property when you add an ADU or add an addition to your home. What we do is add to the assessment. Oh. So the only time a true reassessment occurs is when there's a change in ownership. So when you add an ADU in Alameda County, it's a little, I don't want to give it's not a straight answer because what we try and do first is to find the market value of that ADU. Meaning what we will do is look at comparables, if we can find any comparable sold properties that have an ADU to determine what the value of that ADU is at the time of sale. Now, in many parts of our county, it's very difficult to get that market value because there are not very many homes that are sold with an ADU. The only parts in our county where there are a lot of ADUs are Oakland and Berkeley. When you go down to, say, Fremont, there are much fewer. So down in Fremont, more likely than not, we would take some sort of a combination of a cost approach with some sort of a market value method. You know, our county is very, well, I don't know if it's very unique, but it's very different in that different parts of our county have very different values. Oakland, Berkeley, Piedmont have very different values than Fremont, than say Livermore. So we pretty much regionalize our county. And that's the approach that we take. And I know Jen at the beginning of her statement was saying that we try and do it all uniform throughout the state. But when I spoke with some of my colleagues, say down in San Diego, I had this conversation with the assessor down there, and he said he uses mostly a cost approach because there's absolutely no market value data that they can use for ADUs. Mm-hmm. Whereas we have some market value data in certain parts of our county. So we use that approach whenever possible.
Okay. Okay. So the first approach will be the market value approach, right? Yeah. So comes with Leo is the same.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same. We regionalize as well how we do our approach. So we factor in things like the type of ADU being built, as well as whether or not we have sufficient market data from the particular city to do a market sales approach to valuation. And if we don't have enough market data, we'll use a cost approach.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the next question I heard from the community that there's a very interesting saying spread in the community that leaving a wall unchanged or undemolished for the addition of the new construction project, and the reassessment will be avoided or escaped. So my question is that, is this saying correct? And at what situation those kind of assessment will be triggered? Jen, can you speak? Open your microphone.
Sure. In terms of that, no, I don't believe that that statement would be correct. A lot of people do believe that if they leave a wall up and they just demolish or take the rest of the house down to the studs, that it would not get reassessed. But if any time, and we reference a lot of people to the Assessor's Handbook section 410, which goes into at what stage, how much construction is done. Does it trigger a reassessment due to SEN? And so there is a reassessment anytime there's new construction. But yeah, just leaving a wall up doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to get reassessed.
Okay, so Fawn, is there any add-on on this kind of a saying, community saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I'll agree with Jen. That is probably not a very good thing to repeat since it's not true. But we don't, and there are certain things that don't get reassessed though. And I want to make sure that people know that we're not out to just get everyone. If you do say you replace your roof, right? For the most part, you're not going to get reassessed if it's the same type of roof. But if you go from say, if you start adding framework to put in a much nicer tile roof, then you might have some value. If you redo your bathroom, for the most part, you don't get reassessed unless you start, going from a half bath to a full bath, or you go from regular toilets to porcelain gold toilets, right? There's a certain limit to it. But for the most part, when you're just replacing things, there really is no reassessment. And then by state law, there are also certain things that that are excluded from increase in assessment. Solar panels, water catchment systems. There are certain things that you can add to your home that won't add to your assessment. And for the most part, think of it as, if you're replacing something, it's not going to really add anything to your assessment. It's only when you really increase square footage, when you're making it much nicer than what it currently is. Think of it.
Okay. Yeah. So Leo, can you give us a kind of a very specific example? So for example, the homeowner at 800 square feet of detached ADU. So his property tax will be reassessed, kind of how the ADU of 800 square feet will affect the property tax. Can you give a kind of a summary on this?
Sure.
Leo?
So first we review what the construction is, and if we see that no part of the existing improvements are being modified at all, we're only going to look at the value of the detached ADU that's being added. So the next step we would typically do is see what sort of market data we have of homes that had an ADU versus homes that did not have an ADU, to see what sort of value the market is paying for that ADU. If there's not enough data, then we would actually go look at construction costs, and based on the construction costs, use that value to add to the assessed value.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how much will the, say, 800 square feet of detached ADU increase on the property tax? Is there kind of a very quick calculation?
It's very regional oriented, because somebody who builds a second unit, say in Atherton, where the typical house price might be 10 or $20 million, it's going to be much different than, say, someone who does it in Daly City, where the house prices are maybe $1 million.
Okay. Okay. So I have a real case that in city of San Jose, West San Jose. So the owner is going to build a kind of office or studio at the backyard. It's kind of he's intending to apply for a detached ADU, about 400 square feet something, but it is only an office and no bathroom, no kind of kitchen equipment. So is the 400 square feet detached ADU will be add value to their property? Jen? Do you have
In terms of assessment, we would pick up for the 400 square foot addition. In terms of whether how much that would translate to in terms of market value on a resale, for example, we do not.
Yeah, we lost your voice, Jen. We can't hear you. Maybe it's the web. No, I can't hear you. Okay, okay, no problem. I can ask you.
I
Okay.
can see the thing showing that the signal is not too great right now.
Okay,
Sorry
okay,
about that.
okay, no problem. So we come to the next.
It-
Yes, it comes back. Okay, so we come to the next question, talking about the Prop 19. I know that the passage of Prop 19 will influence some of the property tax base. So, Fong, I know that you had such kind of a community seminar talking about the Prop 19. So, how Prop 19 will influence the property tax?
That's a pretty heavy question because it really depends on what aspect of Prop 19 you're talking about.
Okay.
So there are
The
two parts
transfer
of Prop
of the property tax base. So this is the positive thing. Positive.
the positive. So the positive part, if you're a taxpayer, okay, let's say that there's a negative and a positive, assuming you want low taxes. Assuming that's your goal, the positive is that you could take your low base year value with you across the state now. And I'll give you a scenario. And if you want more of these scenarios, go to my website, the Alameda County Assessors website. There's a Prop 19 tab, and I actually have a video on there with questions and answers. I also have slides and information about Prop 19 and what it means to you and your family. But the quote unquote positive side is that if you buy, let's say my mom and dad bought a house in Union City in 1980 for $100,000. Their property taxes right now are based on a $200,000 assessed value. 2% a year for 40 years compounded is about $200,000. That house is actually worth $1 million. So if they sold their house for $1 million right now, and then they went and bought another house in San Diego for $700,000, they could take their $200,000 property tax assessment with them to their new house in San Diego and pay, $2,500 in property taxes rather than $10,000, right? So that's the quote unquote good thing about Prop 19. The negative thing that forces people to pay more in property taxes is if that exact same house, my mom and dad, say after February 15th, they give me that house. They gift me that same house in Union City. It's an assessed value of $200,000, but a market value of $1 million. I don't move into that house, but I decide to rent it out as an investment property. The assessment then jumps up from $200,000 to $1 million, and I end up paying $12,500 in property taxes rather than $2,500, which is what my mom and dad are paying now. So that's the downside of Prop 19 that people are just learning now. So what I have to do and what most families do is have that conversation as a family. If my mom and dad want me to have that house and keep the lower property taxes, they need to gift that to me or give it to me or sell it to me before February 15th and have that recorded before February 15th. So that's kind of the downside about it. Now, there's also, and this is why I say you should always talk to your lawyer, your CPA, your accountant, because the downside to gifting to me early is that if I choose to sell it in a year, I don't get the capital gain step up, right? Which means I take my parents' lower basis on their house, and if I sell it, I have a huge capital gains, and I end up paying capital gains taxes on it. If I wait until they pass away and I inherit the house, the capital gain steps up to the market value. And if I sell it soon after that, I don't have a capital gains tax to pay. So it's a matter of, do you want the home now? Or what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep it and rent it out? Are you going to live in it? Or are you going to sell it? And that'll determine what, if anything, you should do now. So Prop 19 may or may not affect you depending what you and your family goals are. That's why it's important to talk about it with your family and then talk to an attorney and a CPA about it and do the math. What makes more sense for you?
Okay.
So that's Prop 19 in a nutshell. And that's the quickest way I can explain the two parts of Prop 19 right now.
Okay, so that's why we invited two state attorneys next panel discussion to answer more about the legal side of the effect by the Prop 19.
Let me say one other thing. I know this is not the Prop 19 portion, but the attorneys may not cover this part, which is very important too. If you want to meet that deadline, right, the February 15th filing deadline, the county recorder is closed on February 15th. It's a government holiday. I don't know about San Mateo and Santa Clara County, but in Alameda County, we're also closed on the 12th, which is a county holiday.
Oh.
So the real deadline is actually February 11th, right? And the assessor in my office, we go by the recording date, not the signature date. So you could sign that document and transfer the deed over today, but if you don't get it recorded before February 15th, you're going to go under the new Prop 19 rules, not the current Prop 58 rules that benefit a lot of families.
Okay.
Our recorder in Alameda County is also backlogged, meaning if you mail it in, it may not get recorded for a month. So I'm telling people, don't mail it in. Either go to a company that does electronic recording, so it gets recorded roughly the same day or the next day. You can drop it up. We don't have walk-ins anymore because of COVID. You can't just walk in and get a document recorded. But there's a drop-off box. Again, I wouldn't recommend that either because that might take a week for them to get it out of the box and get it recorded. Electronic recording is the best way to go. And if you're going to do it soon. Don't wait till the last minute because they're going to get backlogged. And we expect a huge amount of people recording these documents.
Okay.
And you won't hear whether yours got recorded in time or not until much later, right? In Alameda County, the recorder doesn't send us the recorded deeds for 11 weeks. So anything that's recorded today, I won't see until probably March.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
So the deadline is February 11th. So do it as soon as possible. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So Leo, do you have any add-on and also reminders to our audience that are regarding the Prop 19?
Sure. I would just add on to what Fong said, which is there's two parts to Prop 19, which deal with two different issues. One is for people over the age of 55 being able to transfer their assessed value of their home to another home inside California. The current law requires that you can only do it once, and it has to be to a home with less expensive price than what your current home would sell for. The new law, the Prop 19, which changes and takes effect in April, allows you to do it up to three times. And you could transfer to a more expensive home, but when you transfer to a more expensive home, the amount that the home you're transferring to, the amount that it's more expensive, gets added on to the assessed value that you're transferring. So that's one thing. On the parent to child transfers, there's quite a few areas where the law was not specific or unclear. And there's a lot of feedback being given to the Board of Equalization. And so there's a lot of cases where I don't think we know how we're going to be assessing yet. For example, someone who lives in a duplex where they're living in one unit and renting out the other, we don't know exactly what the Board of Equalization guidance is yet on those cases where say they transferred the duplex to their child. And there's other cases where we don't know like how long the child needs to make the property their primary residence, and how long the transfer can be kept if the child, after they make it their primary residence, decides to make it into a rental. So there's a lot of stuff that's still unknown yet with the parent to child transfer.
Okay.
And to follow up with Fong as well, is it's important that if you do decide to do the transfer before the new rules take effect, to do it before February 16th. In San Mateo, we do take the county recorder does take appointments. So I would make an appointment and, to get it, make sure you record that before February 16th if you intend to do that transfer.
Okay. Yeah. So Jen, is there any reminder or exemptions from Santa Clara County regarding the Prop 19?
No, the same deadlines would apply. So we are closed on Monday, the 15th. And so everything would have to be done that Friday prior.
Okay. 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 So if you have any question regarding the property tax or the Prop 19 impact on your property tax, just leave it on the Q&A space. We'll come back to answer your questions soon. Okay. So the last two questions I'm collecting is that what will you remind the community regarding the county recording? For example, after I add an ADU, so is there any period limitation for the homeowner to make the county recording? So starting from Jen, lady first.
Okay, I'm sorry, in regards to recording.
After adding an ADU on the property, so is there a time limit for making the ADU add-on ADU recorded at the county office?
Okay, for Santa Clara County, we don't need those recorded when the homeowner or the tax.
Oh, we lost you again, Jen. So maybe the Wi-Fi connection. Yeah. Sorry, can't hear you. I can't hear you. Yeah. Okay.
We're notified, and that's how we assess them.
Okay. That's how, but we don't know. We miss out the how.
Okay, sorry, let me repeat that. So basically, anytime they take out a permit with the city on building a new unit or adding on to their property, we'll get noticed of it. And that's how we assess for it. And that's how we update our property records. And so the homeowner doesn't need to record anything separate other than to let us know when the project completes.
Okay. Okay. Fong and Leo, is there any add-on on this, the county recording of ADU project?
No, once we get the permit from the ADU, like Jen said, I'm assuming the part that we missed from what Jen said is when the permits come to us from the cities, we will update our records at the assessor's office to reflect that there is an ADU and what size and what type of ADU it is. So internally, we will do that from the permits. It also comes from our physical inspection of the property. So that's the only thing that I think answers that question.
Okay. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, the county doesn't require any recording, but some of the cities might have their own individual regulations for requiring a recording, especially if they give some sort of density bonus for the ADU.
Okay.
So they should check with the city for their requirements as well for recording requirements.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Okay. The last question is, if the homeowner doesn't agree with the county's assessment result, how would they do? Jen, do you first?
For Santa Clara County, we'll, when the project's complete, we'll, assess for it, and then we'll send out notification of supplemental assessment. And so the taxpayer has 30 days from that notice date to contact the assessor and request an informal review. And oftentimes, I think with construction of new ADUs and second units, we can request construction costs from the homeowners. And so we can look at that and see if
Lost you again. Okay. Okay, lost you again. Maybe the Wi-Fi problem. Yeah. Okay, phone.
So I think most counties are pretty similar in that we have two processes in which you can go through if you disagree with the assessor's office. We have an informal review process, which requires you to give us some examples of market value and data that supports your opinion of value, and we'll take that into consideration. If we still disagree with you and you still disagree with us, you can file a formal review. And the deadline in our county for a formal review is September 15th of each year for the previous assessment year, in which case it will go to a independent third-party assessment appeal board to hear from both sides. And that board will decide what the appropriate market value is for your ADU or even your home or your business or your building or anything that gets assessed. You have the right to file that appeal. And that appeal is not done through the assessor's office, just to make it very clear. I don't want people to think that it's biased. It is through a third party. The clerk of the board for each county is responsible for administering that appeal process. And we are one party in that appeal process. And certainly after that appeal process, if you still disagree, you can always go to Superior Court and try and get it reversed. But that's a long process. So I recommend everyone in Alameda County, if you disagree, just let us know and we'll talk to you about it. And we will explain to you how we came up with the value for your property. We will give you our data sheet. If you are the property owner, you have a right to that data. I believe it's your data, and we will show it to you, and we'll share it with you, and we'll walk you through it. And like I said, if you still disagree, feel free to give us your data and the information you have that makes you feel like our value is wrong.
Okay, yeah, I still remember the two times that I interviewed with Larry Stone, the assessor of Santa Clara County, that he mentioned again and again that the assessment process is kind of an art instead of a science. So when you deal with the art, it's kind of there's an emotional or not subjective judgment. It's kind of there's a kind of differences. So you are encouraged to appeal to the county if you disagree with the result. Okay. So any comments from Leo?
Yeah, we have a similar process. Someone who disagrees with their supplemental assessment or their annual assessment can contact our office and ask for another review. But they should also keep cognizant the deadlines for filing a formal appeal. Again, a formal appeal is handled by the Assessment Appeals Board. They're independent from the assessor's office. And there are deadlines in our county for an annual appealing an annual assessment. It's November 30th is the deadline. For a supplemental assessment, it's 60 days after the date of notice on the supplemental notice letter that the owner receives. Once they do appeal, though, there's nothing we can do about the assessment without the agreement of the Assessment Appeals Board.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see any question raised in the Q&A space. So we will go further to our legal panel discussion. But thank you for Jen, for Phone, for Leon presenting here about we're talking about the property tax. Okay, thank you, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now